Well, good morning, guys. I am shooting this video again. Uh, I just couldn't ever seem to get it the way I wanted it. It just, I don't know. I kind of was scatterbrained when I was doing it. So yesterday you saw the video of at the shop. I was getting some knives done, heat treated. I didn't do any grinding after. I didn't do any grinding after that. My forearms are sore from. I sharpened a bunch of knives. I did a bunch of grinding. Grinding, you use a lot of forearm muscle. Right down through here, my forearms are sore right there. So I did do a lot of grinding on Saturday. Sunday I did heat treat. So those things are ready just to be ground, edge grind. I gotta just do the finished surface grinding. So what we're gonna talk about today, this morning, is some knives that Ken sent me all the way from Topeka, Kansas. Ooh, heartburn. So I need to get this video done. We are going, there's gonna be another video shot this afternoon, this evening, whatever time we leave. Actually, we're gonna leave pretty soon, if you wanna know the truth, to go to my daughter's ice skating competition up in Ontario. We were gonna be there tonight, Monday night, and all day Tuesday. So we probably won't get home until late Tuesday night. Anyway, Ken sent me a couple knives. One of them was the Sharpen, and the other two were just strictly to look at for the YouTube channel. So we'll look at those first, because the big one is the one I want to show last, and I want to get these back out to Ken. So in the previous iterations, I had talked about this one as being, this is not, while it's quality steel, it's VG10 Sanmai from Seki, Japan, from Seki City. This knife is not something I would carry. Two reasons. I don't like the lock mechanism. It's a lot like an axis lock. It's you pull back. It's like, how do I describe this? It's like a cross between an axis lock and a lock back. So when you pull back on this, it pulls this whole bar out of the notch. It's called tooth lock. It's a SOG tooth lock. It's kind of like their answer to the axis lock. But I don't like it as much as I like the axis lock. So I am going to have to drop this camera down a little bit. So I'm going to pause here in a minute after we talk about this a little bit. My problem with this is the ergos on this. It's uncomfortable. It has so many really bad hot spots. Pocket clip. It's a deep carry pocket clip, but it's got some sharp edges on it. But the big one is these notches right there in the finger. You couldn't cut very much with that before it would start bothering you. That deep carry pocket clip digs into my hand. So I was actually carrying it and messing around with it. It cuts into your hand right here. So if you're doing any cutting, it would not be the most comfortable knife to use. It does have a fairly decent grind. It's got a nice notch, but the problem is, once again, it's recurve. And we're going to talk about that while I'm on it. Why do I charge extra for recurves? If you guys have ever watched me sharpen recurves, I cut myself every time. When I sharpen a recurve knife, I have to use some really, really, really narrow stones. They don't like to sit flat. They roll over. The knife slips off, sticks me in a hand, and I cut myself. I bleed every time I do a recurve. So I charge a little bit extra because I'm going to hurt myself. I charge like $10 more. Same with the Tontos are different reason. Tontos, I do that because basically I'm sharpening two knives. Same with a double edge. But this looks like an injection molded plastic handle, probably FRN, fiberglass reinforced nylon. It's got the SOG logo on it. SOG knives aren't horrible, but they're also not great. They're kind of that kind of a budget price, but not that expensive that you can't, you know what I mean? They're middle of the road kind of. They're like CRKT and some of the other knives that are an affordable option. But now there are other options available. Cold steel. Cold steel, like I said, you guys, as many people as would think that I hate cold steel because of that video, because they just misinterpret what I say. How many times I gotta say it? I'm only responsible for what I say, not what you hear. Cold steel has got some really decent designs. I think this is one of them. This is called the Grik, G-R-I-K. Cold steel Grik. And nice broad blade. It is fairly thick. You can thin that edge out pretty well. This one's ground really well. What I like about it is it's got an opening mechanism kind of like a Spidey hole, but then it's got that ramp on it. Sometimes that Spidey hole's hard, it's a pain in the ass. This has an actual ramp that has some jimping on it that allows you to open that. Now, I think that it may get in the way for sharpening for certain people, if you use a fixtured system. But guess what? There's a set screw in there. You can take that piece out. You can take that ramp piece out, and then you just basically have a knife with a Spidey hole in it. The pocket clip on this is interesting. Cold Steel has kind of went back to their plastic pocket clips. Now, if they're making it out of Securex, which is what they call their fiberglass reinforced plastic, this is going to last a very long time. I like that wide pocket clip. I like a plastic pocket. It's so nice because basically, instead of having something that can be a hot spot like this, you get something that's a lot smoother. In your hand, I can't feel that pocket clip. I really can't. It's a very, very comfortable knife to hold. It's got that little notch there where you can get some work up on it. It does need a better sharpening notch. They tried on this one. They really did. It looks like they tried fairly well, but they still didn't get that notch deep enough or far enough up in. And that's not just Cold Steel. As a matter of fact, my Reat here that I anodized the shit out of this yesterday. I went nuts. I did bronze, I did ceruleum, and then polished it, and then I did blue. But even this one, if you look, I opened that notch up. I put it on the small wheel. I opened that notch up. Follow me on Instagram. I posted the before and after pictures because it had a thick spot. When you try to sharpen it, you just really couldn't get the whole knife sharp. That bothers me. It's aesthetic, I know, but it just did bother me. I mean, you didn't use that piece of the blade, but this one would be one of those ones where you would have a hard time. And you can see where, even grinding, you can see where it starts to ramp up. But no, very comfortable knife to hold. Exactly the opposite is. I actually carried this. I didn't sharpen it, but I did carry it. It's got a pretty cool, rough edge on it. But I carried it just to see. Very comfortable. Easy to carry, nice and light. Triad lock. If you ask my opinion, the best lock out there on the market right now. You can't argue the fact it is the toughest, strongest, beefiest lock on the market. Do you always need that? No, most people aren't going to need that. But it's out there, and it is a very robust lock. One of the only few folding knives that I would ever think could handle some of the things that you see people torture testing, batoning and things like that, is my Cold Steel, my big folding Cold Steel Spartan. So I still need to do an actual review. Oh no, I did an actual review of that knife. Thing with a triad lock, a lot of people are going to find is it takes so much force you can see right there, it takes so much force to release that lock that sometimes it's too much for people. Some people don't like the triad lock just because they don't have strong enough hands. Not calling them pussies or anything, but just don't have hands strong enough to disengage the lock. So, last knife, Cold Steel Frenzy. Now, I did sharpen this one, and it's the first knife that's in XHP that's coming from Cold Steel that I sharpened. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It took a wicked sharp edge. I've had problems with Cold Steel, or not Cold Steel, with XHP in different knives done by different companies that it didn't seem like it ever wanted to get sharp. It took a really super coarse edge, did not want to get refined even on the fine stones. It just always felt gritty. This one took a gorgeous edge. I reprofiled it. It was a little bit misground. I did what I could. I didn't want to take too much more metal off, but I did address the misgrind. At the tip, it's still a little bit off, but that's more the actual grind of the knife than it is the edge grind. But it's minimal. This, for its size, is a very light knife. So what you've got is layered G10 XHP steel. It has got a slight recurve, not enough that it is almost impossible to sharpen, but for a lot of people, it's going to be just enough that there's on their stone as they're sharpening that they're going to have to pay real close attention, because it's going to have a high spot where it's not touching the stone. You have to make sure that you're monitoring that for the entire travel. I used my really narrow stones for this, all the way up to 1,000 grit, and then I just did it on my other stones up to 8,000 grit. And XHP, a lot like D2, does not have to go up so high to take a really refined, polished edge. So this one got a polished edge at about it really started looking polished at around the 2,000 or 3,000 grit. The nice thing about XHP, it will polish like that. If you wanted a toothy edge, I could get 1,000 grit edge and then polish it, and it will look as good, just with with D2. 1,000, 2,000 grit, and it's gonna look like it was on a 12,000 grit for any other steel. It gives up that scratch pattern readily. Action on it's not too bad for a big knife. You don't have to snap it, flip it. The nice thing about this compared to a lot of other cold steels, the pocket clip is reversible. It's ambidextrous. And you can do that with other cold steel knives, but case in point, this knife, the Grick, has got a second pocket clip because the way it's designed, you cannot just flip it over to this side. You have to use the other one. So all cold steel knives, 99% of them, allow you to reverse the pocket clip for left and right hand carry. Since it's not a flipper or a frame lock, you can do that. But with a lot of the cold steels, they have, because of the angles of their stuff, they have a second pocket clip that comes in the case, which is great as long as you don't lose it. Like, I've been looking for the other pocket clip for my my one cold steel folder so that I could flip it. I just found one for a Recon 1 that I sold. But yeah, that can get annoying. But this one is just, it's a straight bent clip that goes either way. It's pretty aesthetically pleasing. You can see the layered G10, even here, the lines, and then when they grind it out, you get that that really cool pattern. It almost looks like a layered micarta, but it's G10. So, which they're basically the same thing. One is just linen, and the other one is fiberglass. This too has got the triad lock. So I mean, it would be a really robust knife. I just don't see. Now we're going to get to the function part of this. I don't see a purpose for this. That is, I mean, like, it's hard enough for people that carry knives sometimes. People question, oh, well, you always have to carry a knife. I wear a suit and I carry a knife. And people are like, well, what do you need that for? There's always been, in my mind, a tool. A knife is a tool that every man should have in his pocket. You never know what you're going to need. I use my knife throughout the day so many times. You know how many things get cut? I can't tell you how many times people have, oh, you always carry a knife, and then turn around and say, hey, can I borrow your knife? Well, having a knife in your pocket is one of those things that until, when I was a kid, everyone I knew had a knife. Every man I knew carried a knife. And then it kind of went out of fashion because, oh, it's a weapon. It's not, it's a tool. This is not, this doesn't fit into that realm of what I think of when I see pocket knife. Let's see. That's all the way down to there. And I'm not going to lie to you, when you sit, it can get uncomfortable. if you're not sitting just right and it digs in. I've carried my Spartan, which is my Spartan's only about that big. It's about a good 2 inches shorter. It's not uncomfortable to carry. This isn't horrible. It's nice and thin. It's nice and light. But depending on how you sit, something gets into it and it pushes into your leg. It's not prime optimal knife to carry for day-to-day carry. It's not an EDC knife. This is a pocket sword. I mean, I can get up on it and I'm not even touching the blade yet, and I still have G10 sticking out of the bottom. I mean, it's a fucking sword. So, and it's not a fast deploying knife even for a self-defense purpose. So this would be something that I really don't know how you would use it, but it's a fairly well constructed, attractive knife. I would, if this was that big with a Warncliffe like that, hands down, I'd buy it. One of my favorite knives that I have, it's in the bedroom, it gets carried a lot, is my little Warncliffe Tough Light. Yeah, the Tough Light, not the Mini, Tough Light. Not the Tough Light Mini. So, nope, I just wanted to get that video done. I am going to videotape our trip up to Ontario. My wife's probably going to drive, unless she's not feeling well. She hasn't been feeling great lately. She's pretty dizzy. So I may be driving. If I'm driving, then there will not be another video this evening. But we'll see. So, all right, guys. I appreciate it. A lot of you guys watched the video about the knife making stuff. I got some really good comments. I really appreciate it. I did a live feed when I was at the shop. I talked to James Yates, the guy that won the giveaway knife in England. I talked to him a little bit. I talked to Charles Anderson in Sweden. It was just the three of us on a live feed. I was doing the ano on this knife. We were talking while I did it. I showed him how the ano tank worked. I did some actual live feed of anodizing. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you miss out on a lot of stuff. I can't do live feeds on YouTube because of the way I have my monetizing structure set up, because I'm part of a network as opposed to just getting the Google funding me. So it makes it really hard. I have to inform the network that I'm going to do a live feed and what the content of the live feed is going to be, because then they can tailor the advertisers to that, because they pick and choose who advertises on my channel. With that being said, I'm an impromptu kind of guy. I just decide, fuck it, I'm going to do a live feed. Then that's when you run into the issue. I can't do a live feed because I got to give them 2 days notice. So I do all my live feeds on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, that would be a good idea to go and find me on Instagram. It's _Emler_edge on Instagram. Like and subscribe. I have been told that the likes definitely affect how many more people get to see your video. So if you watch the video, if you like it, just hit the like tab. I'm not asking you to give me any money or anything, unless you really want to. And the Patreons, it's in the comments. It always is. But the likes is a metrics that YouTube uses to then refer my video to others, scenes, and would get more and more subscribers. So that being said, like and subscribe. I'm going to keep doing that. I have to. It's the only way to grow the channel, is to keep telling people to like and subscribe. So, all right, guys, that's it for this. Like I said, if I'm not driving, I will video our trip to Ontario like I always do. It's fun, me and the wife and kid goofing off in the car. So, all right, guys, take it easy, be safe, and I will see you next time.